Hello and welcome. Well, let me wish us all a happy birthday, well, our 59th birthday as a sovereign nation. And what is it? What vision did we have to get us here at 59? Because every nation cannot just set off on autopilot. There must be a plan to set you off from A to B. And today, my conversation, we're just going to find out what was exactly our plan that got us here. And we've heard it time and again that all the Asian tigers once upon a time were either at par with them or some of them were even in front of them. And today, when we are talking of development, it's not fair to compare Malaysia. Look down somewhere in Africa, find a country that's not doing too well and pinch yourself to it and glorify yourself. And that's where we find ourselves. But in between all this, there must be a glimmer of hope. In between all this, there must be something that we should be proud of. And that too, we are yet to find out. My name is Nana Sakwa. This is PM Express, and as we are celebrating Ghana Day, you can clearly tell I am in the spirit. But it doesn't come more appropriate than the conversation we're going to have and who I am having with. Don't you even move, I'm coming back. Thank you very much for staying. What was the vision that got us here at age 59? There must have been a plan. There must have been a vision collectively that got us here. But what is it? But before, let me introduce my guest, and let me introduce him properly, right? Now, I'm talking to Bishop Samuel Mensah. He's the president of the Full Gospel Church International in Ghana. He's the leader, he's a leadership development and transition management consultant. He's the co-founder of Omega Leadership International and a cutting-edge leadership capacity development organization. He is a trainer, facilitator at both local and international leadership training workshops and seminars. Recently, in July 2015, he briefly addressed the global gathering of leaders from 50 nations at the World Christian Leaders Workshop in South Korea. And as one of the delegates chosen to do so, he holds a bachelor's degree in theology, and he's a passionate Ghanaian and lives and breathes vision for leaders. Bishop, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Nana.
Thank you very much too. But we're going to watch this short clip, which will dovetail us into today's conversation. Watch this. Well, hello and welcome to, I don't know whether this is PM Express, but well, that's part of PM Express. Within our stay in London, something dawned on me. And I'm standing right at the seat of government, which is the Westminster House, where Parliament is taking place, as I talk now. Now, what amazes me is the sense of order within the city of London. Folks, there are just under 10 million people, about 9.868 million people living in London. And they've been policed by 31,000 police officers. So clearly there isn't each policeman to each citizen. However, the sense of orderliness and discipline is mind-boggling. Now, if you think that the average Londoner is complaining that London is not clean and is filthy, coming from my side of the world or where we come from, you don't know whether to laugh or to take them serious. But that's what they say, that the city is not clean enough. There's no need a policeman to stand on the traffic light before traffic stops. Motorbikes stops when the red light says stops. Even bicycles, push bicycles, stop when the red light comes on. And you wonder, is it because they were born that way, or they were trained that way, or is it they are scared of the repercussions of what would happen? And then you drive around their neighbors, and then the neighborhoods. No one has walls, no one has burglar proofing. Cars are parked, and indeed expensive cars. So you ask yourself, are there burglars who come around in the night to break into their cars and steal? And if so, how much of it? Is it rife? But how did they get here? Because you look at our parts of the world, you build a half-decent house and you need a wall the size of and Sawam prisons. To shield yourself, you need dogs that are wild and ready to eat human beings before you are safe. How can we also get this safe and have this sense of discipline and orderliness and live as human beings? Because I believe that as human beings, you don't need to be so paranoid and barricaded within your house or whatever it is. Electric fences and big heavy metal gates. I'm not saying that no house here has got a gate, but 95% of the housing don't have gates or walls, and yet still they live peacefully and get about their daily work comfortably. What amazes me is the discipline when it comes to zebra crossing. You step your foot on the zebra crossing and the nearest car stops for you to drive on. You walk across the pavement and there's no container shop. Nobody's just put a shop there because they think they're poor and therefore that's their space and they're going to sell on it. No house can grow grass in front of the pavement in their house. As you look on our side of the world, you know, any half-decent rich man thinks that the pavement belongs to me, therefore I put my royal palm, plant my grass there, and whoever is walking need to walk on the street. And therefore we have 6 people being run down on a daily basis because pedestrians and cars have to wrestle on the road, and obviously pedestrians lose. How can we also achieve this? Now, one thing that boggles me is, well, not every citizen of Ghana has come to this side of the world, but every leader who's worth his salt has come to this side of the world. Indeed, this is where they come and beg for all their monies. Don't they see some of these things that we can bring home and steady and also improve ourselves in the way we live? Sanitation. Roads are constantly being swept, even though they are complaining. Orderliness. Now, as you can see, I am recording right in the heart of town, and you notice not one sound of a car horn. Not a sound. No car has hooted, and we are right in the thick of things. So how is it possible that you can be in town with so much traffic and yet no driver honks his horn to say, you know, you go or move away because I'm moving? Who's watching? Who's listening? And why aren't they honking their horns? Because, you know, folks, if I was doing the same speech or doing the same videoing in the heart of Accra, every 5 seconds you would hear beep, 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 beep. Every car would be honking. So how did they get here? And what is it that we have to pick from here to replicate? Because we seem to come here and go back with only the bad habits and not the good habits. Police are effective, always on the move. A few minutes ago, there was a police helicopter because obviously there's a suspect in here somewhere, so they moved their helicopter. And I remember this issue came back home in Ghana, and we were complaining that get the police a chopper, but what did we do? We rather bought a presidential jet. So what? I heard something, we don't feel secure, and therefore we have houses and we have to barricade ourselves in. I think it's about time that we pick up certain things. Now, you know, I'm one person who don't believe that, you know, go and copy blindly what other people do. However, as far as human rights is concerned, I think it cuts across board. There is a certain level of decency where it's accepted that you live in your house with a free mind, and that I don't think you have to be any culture, any race to have that sense of security. It is about time that when our leaders come around, they notice some of these things, find out how it was implemented here, and then would bring it back home. Look at the neighborhood. Every neighbor has got a green patch. There's always a green space for every neighbor. You don't have any chief, you know, my sort, coming to sell it willy-nilly. So there's a green space where children can play, where old folks can sit and have their sandwich and enjoy the weather. Every area has a dedicated green space. And guess what? Between every town and the next town, there's a deliberate green space left so that the towns don't join together. Because now you realize you're driving from Accra to Kasoa, there's no space. So you're within Accra, and the next thing you know, you're in Kasoa, where there isn't any clear boundary. But what they've done here is they leave a deliberate green patch so that towns can be segregated and you can't noticed that I've now left Accra and I'm moving into Kaswa, I've left London and I'm moving into Bexley. These things, I think, it's safe enough to emulate. And we need to bring it back. I think mayors within Accra should travel. And indeed, they always travel for what they call capacity building. I don't know what they see when they have this capacity building. But let's look around you. Nobody's just planked the table anywhere to say they are selling because, or a container or obstructing the pavement. All these capacity building, has it yielded any result, and are we seeing it? I think it's about time, because the world is moving too fast and away from us. And we need to instill this sort of discipline, this sort of culture within us, so that even though there isn't a policeman around, you still live within the law and obey the laws of the land. It is very, very important. We'll show you other sides, which I think is fantastic, but I think this is what I have to stay right in front of Westminster House. What amazes me is the sense of order. Straight from Westminster back to Kokomlemle, back to reality. But home, you know what? Home, sweet home. Look, I travel, and sometimes, even though in the height of doom, so you just still can't wait to go back home. There is something here. They say when your umbilical cord is buried somewhere, you just can't seem to leave that land. But today we're going to have a very beautiful conversation with Bishop Samuel Mensah. But Bishop, welcome again.
Thank you very much, Nana.
That was me there getting frustrated in London. But let me comment on our 59th birthday. What do you think?
Well, by and large, we have come very far as 59 years as a nation. However, we are not too proud. Definitely, I would say we are not too proud of where we are in terms of development, in terms of growth, in terms of human empowerment, in terms of expansion, in terms of becoming the leader among the African countries. And it is very sad to see that we live in a nation that is lawless state, disorder, indiscipline in this 21st century. It is extremely worrying.
Are you not being too harsh and overcritical?
I don't think so. Recently, I just returned from Rwanda. And this is a nation that went through genocide in the past since 1993. And it's amazing that just within 20 years, Ghana is literally behind Rwanda. In terms of development, infrastructure, discipline, I got into the airport, my suitcase was they used a rubber to wrap the suitcase. But right inside the airport, the officers were there with the scissors. They said, no polythene bag or rubber goes to the city. So they got it removed. And nobody asked for money. No police officer was asking for anything. You can see that this is a nation that the laws are working. And that is the difference between Rwanda of yesterday and Rwanda of today and that of Ghana. Nothing seems to be working here because we don't have leaders who are literally enforcing the laws and to get things done.
Well, I particularly wanted to talk to Bishop today because of this. A book he's written called Vision, the Fuel That Drives Leaders. Vision, the fuel that drives leaders. And that's why I got you in here today, Bishop, because whatever it is at every given time in Ghana, we've had a leader.
Yeah.
And whether individual or collectively, they should have a vision to take us somewhere. So I want us to go back now to what Nkrumah had. And then dovetail it to, I think, there's a chapter in your book about opposition to visions.
Right.
How to deal with opposition to vision.
Right.
Now, Nkrumah had the vision. And one thing that we always talk, and I've always said that he was too ahead of his time. He was too ahead of his time. Too ahead of his time. What was his vision, and was it too complicated that we couldn't just buy into it?
Nana, you see, in 1963, Nkrumah made a very strong, fantastic statement in Addis Ababa during the OE. And he was calling for a united Africa, an Africa that will provide quality leadership, an Africa that will provide and improve the lives of the people. Nkrumah had a 7-year plan, development plan. And that gave birth to Akosombo, the motorway, the Tema Industries, and all the things that we experienced. And he was quite focused because it was vision that was literally driving him. Even though, well, he had oppositions here and there, but you could see that the man was a visionary leader. And that was the vision that was literally driving him, because vision over the years has been as a result of, the Greeks today have been where they are as a result of vision. Roman Empire was as a result of vision. United Kingdom conquered the entire world with their language because of the power of vision. The Wright brothers were able to put us on, get a flight in the air because of vision. Steve Jobs today is in the house of everybody, iPad, iPhone, what have you, because of vision. That is the ingredient that literally drives a leader. So Nkrumah came to Ghana with a vision that was to move people from the state that we found ourselves in to a developed nation. And you could see by history, he was literally driving the country.
So why were people not buying into it? I know people thought, look, the motorway is too expensive. Why do you want to put up this? The dam is too expensive. Why do you want to put up this? You are spending too lavishly on, big monuments. Why won't the average Ghanaian be happy that, oh, they're putting up a dam? Good luck. In the future we'll be happy. Why were people angry?
You see, moving vision into a reality will definitely call for education to ensure that you will be able to get people on board, bring people on board the vision. Because for every vision, you will have people who will fight against it, people who will oppose it. But your job as a leader is to tell them, how difficulty the present situation is, and also to inform them how you are taking them to a new level of destiny. So most often you have to paint the reality picture that, look, this is a gloomy area, and then paint a glorious picture of where you want to take them. But in most cases, leaders sometimes find it difficult to get the people on board to drive the vision. That, you see, and when it comes to vision, you can't delegate that. It is the leader's responsibility to cast it and keep on repeating and letting people know that, look, we are not comfortable here, but this is where we want to go. And people will always resist change. But as much as possible, make sure you get people on board and drive the vision.
Is it because you think it's too simple? They should know this. I mean, I shouldn't explain this to you. Clearly, you know this is a possibility. Is that why leaders find it difficult to come to the people to explain to them?
I strongly think that leaders think that just casting the vision or possibly just telling people, look, we are going to convert this area into an industrial facility, and therefore it's going to create jobs for you. People should jump into the back wagon and get excited. No, it doesn't come that way. People will always resist to change. So the job of a leader is to constantly keep casting the vision. In my book, we have what we call the Nehemiah principle. Every 30 days, the leader must repeat the vision of where they are and where they are going, and to ensure that you bring them on board. You know why? Preachers haven't stopped preaching every Sunday because people haven't been totally transformed. And so that is why preachers go back to the pulpit week after week saying the same thing but in a different way. Leaders must keep saying the same thing but in a different way by getting the people from where they are to where they are supposed to be. Unfortunately, leaders think when they cast the vision, people should understand it, and therefore then they go back to sleep. That, for me, has become the major challenge leaders are facing.
Looking at Ghana, I mean, there is, we all think Ghana is a very civilized country. We've grown up thinking, Ghanaians are very special people. But sometimes the reality on the ground does not tally with what we think. Is it that we imagine it to be so, or where is the disconnect coming from?
I think it appears we are a very difficult people. We appear to be very stubborn, but we are very nice. We are sometimes we are described as laid back. We are also very hospitable. But the average Ghanaian can be very stubborn. And that is the nature of human being. But you see, what makes Ghana different from the clip you showed is that over there, laws are working. over there, there is somebody at every level making sure and enforcing that laws are being applied. And I keep saying that leadership is not the uniform you wear. If you are a police officer or a military officer or in a security office, leadership is not a position you occupy. Leadership is the ability to get things done. It's the ability to move people from where they are to a level and to a life that you want them to be. So the problem we have in Africa, and more especially in Ghana, is that you have people who are occupying positions, all right. But sad to say, they are not leaders. They are not driving people. Leadership and vision are like twins. You see, leadership is the software to the hardware of your position. For example, you have a computer. Without a software, it will be the latest computer on your desk table, but it's not going to function effectively. It's a software that will maximize the use of your PC. So the leadership ability is your software towards the position or the profession you occupy in helping you to get things done. That is why sometimes you have a whole lot of Korle Bu, a place like Korle Bu, they are having difficulties and problems. You know, that hospital departments have been closed down because somebody may have the qualification as a good medical doctor, but he hasn't gotten the leadership skills to be able to solve the problems that has to be solved. So the problem has to do with the kind of vision that must drive our people. You know, and in our world today, Africa is going through, or the entire world has what I call the 7 global enemies. Poverty, pandemic disease, number 2. Number 3 is illiteracy. Number 4 is hunger. 5 is war. 6 is insecurity in our world. And then 7 is leadership crisis. Almost the entire world, especially the developed nations, have been able to deal with what I described as 7 global giant enemies. Unfortunately for Africa, our leaders have not been able to surmount any one of them.
Could it be the way we elect leaders? And I always look at our case. I mean, before somebody become president, I'm sure minimum $20 million.
Yeah.
Minimum, you would have to have it either personally borrowed, loan for your flags. I mean, you have to even take your own voters to go and vote for you.
Right.
Feed them. So by the time you become a leader, you are $20 million in debt. I mean, with all good intentions, you owe $20 million. How do you now function as a leader?
I think, and I'm not too sure how some of academia will probably look at it. I blame the problem we have now has to do by and large with our educational system. We haven't been trained to think and to analyze issues and to solve problems. You know, today we produce what I describe as robot graduates. The professor, the lecturer would basically tell you, give me back what I have taught you in class. So you define things ditto, word for word. So literally, people are not thinking. They come out from our universities, and the people who are running our countries, running the government sectors, the various departments, you know, all our institutions, are products of our universities. And the universities have been trained us to think, analyze issues, be critical, and to solve problems. So what we have been trained to do is that just do what the professor has asked you to produce. So somebody goes into office, then the chief director is waiting for the deputy minister to direct him. The deputy minister is also waiting for the minister to instruct him. And then most often you hear the president saying, I have directed, I have instructed, I have directed. And one time I've directed the IGP. So you ask yourself, why are we always waiting to be directed? Because we are coming from an educational institution that has prepared you to wait to be told what to do. So we have a very serious problem. Not until we overhaul our educational system, we will produce this kind of leaders who wouldn't take us anywhere.
056 800 000. 0560 800 000. This one says, my name is Godwin. I think those countries got where they are now because they were determined to achieve their vision. And most of it all, it falls on the shoulders of the teacher. I'm going to take a break and keep your messages coming while we continue the conversation. Thank you very much for staying, and we are looking at the vision that God has here at 59. But they say that what the animals have eaten, you know, you can't have it back. So what you have to do is ring fence what is left so you protect and move forward. Now that's going to be challenging because we've all been living this big lie and we are hoping that either the lie becomes the truth or we have to stop living the lie and actually live a reality. Bishop, is a very difficult question, but we as a country, we are living a lie. I mean, the president comes up, tells you, yes, you are independent, you are free, you are better than some, focused, don't lose hope and everything. However, in practice, collectively, all of us are not doing anything to achieve the Ghana that we want. So I'm putting it that we are living a lie, hoping that one day the lie will become a truth. But no country ever developed on democracy. Yeah. No country ever developed by politicians. It is a social society. So we are living a lie. So going forward, can we actually live the truth that's going to produce the Ghana we need?
I believe we can live the truth when people begin to realize they need to become effective leaders. We need two basic things. Around when we just celebrated our independence, I was just thinking about the situation of Ghana, and I said, I think two basic things that we need: responsible governance and responsible citizens. We need responsible governance that with vision that will bring everybody together and say in the next 10 years, 15 years, this is where we are going. Because you and I, if I ask you, Nana, in the next 15 years, where do you envision Ghana? Where do you see Ghana? I, as an individual, have no clue. The parliamentarians don't even know. Our lecturers have no clue. The taxi driver wouldn't know, because no one has spelled out a direction that will lead us in the next 15 years, 20 years of where we are going. And so we need that. And then we also need responsible citizens, citizens that will be committed to Ghana. We are too polarized. And definitely we cannot build a united Ghana or build a Ghana and develop Ghana with a divided people. And so unfortunately for us, people commit themselves to tribe before the country. So it's I love my tribe before the country. And naturally, we wouldn't go forward. So we are a divided nation. We need a leader who will unite us together, and then leaders who will spell out the vision of where we are going. It is possible, but we must begin to find leaders who will look at issues, not people on party lines, because no nation has developed based on party lines. No nation has also developed with a sleeping society. Our society has been sleeping for far too long. We believe that society must demand and put pressure on government if our nation definitely must go forward. And for me, that is what Nkrumah stood for. And that is what kind of leaders we must definitely provide.
You see, Nkrumah had the truth element, and when I say truth element, where it was him alone, all political parties were, look, forget it, not yet. So he has the peace of mind to carry on. Today, such a thing is a taboo to mention in Ghana.
Right.
But I am yet to read any country that started and said, yes, anybody who's 40 and hasn't been to prison before, form a political party and let us all, tear the nation apart and try and see who becomes the leader. And the system is such that at the moment, those who are not in power are hoping for something bad to befall those in power. So they are not very popular at the polls, and then they get a chance to come. And if it happens, then the cycle reverses. Where does a leader, comes from? Because no matter what happens, the opposition will say, it wasn't good enough.
You see, we first of all must desire to train people to become effective leaders. We must begin to demand that we need a national dream that will bring us and lead us. Martin Luther King made a statement. He said, I have a dream, and my dream is firmly rooted in the American dream. See, until an organization gets a dream, the individual's dream cannot be connected to the organizational dream. So if we have a national dream, then as a chief, within your area of jurisdiction, you will develop your programs and activities in relation to the national dream. Our universities will develop programs and strategies in relation to the national dream. Even the opposition parties will also be able to tap into the national dream. So what would take us to where we want to go, first of all, is the national dream that will drive us. It is just like a navigational system to an aircraft. You cannot fly an aircraft without a navigational system. For example, I keep on giving this example. You can have a very nice, brand new, 737 Boeing aircraft, have 350 passengers with 12 crew, get a berth of a captain flying the plane. Now he takes off, flight number GH1957, 1957, GH. And then the captain says, listen, I'm flying you from Accra to London. However, I don't have a navigational system. I'm going to use my experience to literally fly you. You and I know that everybody will disembark. The aircraft will literally crash because we are flying an aircraft called Ghana without any sense of direction. And so everybody is wanting to get into, board the aircraft, but we don't have a clue of where we are going. We must first of all develop a national vision. Thankfully, the National Development Planning Commission has launched an idea, which is great because every vision, every nation that has developed had over 20, 30 years vision. A real vision must have, a vision that is audacious must have about 20 to 25, 30 years plan. And then we can give it the necessary legal framework.
The argument is being, there's a 40-year vision coming up.
Yeah.
And the argument is that, look, it's too long. Break it up into 5s or break it up into 7s so that we can, like a timeline. After 5 years, and look, 5 years you've completed, let's do the other 5. But if you say 40, if by 5 you haven't achieved it, then they say, oh, don't worry, in the 8th year, we'll be able to achieve it. And then the next thing you know, the 40 years is up. So should it be shorter or should it be longer? I know the South Korea was doing 5 years. Kwame Nkrumah was doing 7 years. Even Gorgisbeg, I think, had a 7-year plan. So is 40 years too ambitious?
No, 40 years, every great vision has a lifespan beyond 20 years. Okay? So you can still have the 30-year vision plan, but you need to segment it, break it down into manageable period. It can be 7 years or 5 years, and then work towards that. And at every stage, you evaluate and find out what you have done, how far have you reached that. So there's nothing wrong to have the 30-year development plan or the 40-year vision, but we need to break them down into 10-year segments and then work ourselves into it. So that is good, but we need to break them down. And of course, that is what Nkrumah did. That is what other nations have done.
Did it take us too long to realize the good of Nkrumah? Up 2000.
Yeah.
Before he was a man of the millennium, and now we could not have enough for him. Did it take us too long?
Unfortunately, in part of my book, when I did, he made a speech, in 1963 during the AU at that time, inauguration, and then he said, in that point, I said, vision serves the interests of the people. And Nkrumah made this statement. He said, we are fast learning the political independence is not enough to rid us of the consequences of our colonial rule. He said, that is page 183. He said, if, therefore, now that we are independent, we allow the same conditions to resist that existed in colonial days, all the resentment which overthrew colonialism would be mobilized against us. The resources are there. It is for us to marshal them in the active service of our people. Right there in that statement, he even said, we have copper for electricity. We said we have, let me just put back what he said. He said we have uranium for nuclear power. We have copper for electronics. We have titanium for supersonic projectiles. We have iron for steel heavy industries and all other minerals. We have them in Africa. And he said, let's Africa unite. That was 53 years ago when he was dreaming about nuclear war. He was dreaming about nuclear
titanium.
And titanium. He was dreaming about all these electronic gadgets and dreaming of communication. He even at a point said the Sahara Desert can be converted into an agricultural, blooming environment. That was 53 years. So the statement of 1963 is still as current and real as today. Unfortunately, the leaders around his period at that time just couldn't understand and buy his vision. They thought he was too ambitious. And unfortunately today, he has proved all of us wrong, that the vision then was as good as today. So we need people who would cast a vision, but also empower the people, okay, so that everybody can buy into the vision. For example, if you have a vision, the academia, the education department will be able to now structure programs and develop subjects that can speak into the vision. And for that matter, everybody can find themselves in the vision. When they have an idea that we are going to go nuclear or solar, definitely our universities will prepare students to meet the demand. So the starting point for any society and any individual is nothing but a deliberate crafting of a vision that will drive our people. That is what we are lacking. And for that matter, that's what Africa has lacked for many years.
Also, I don't know if it's me or, some of the things that they're not in black and white, but you look at our education, and it's as if to say, look, let's keep developing the country, and sooner or later, education will catch up. You don't see that, look, let's do our education so that the country would move forward. It's like, let's keep developing, and, the education will catch up. And I say this because, look, with all these schools that they provide, free sandals, free school, free this, free that, the people who provide them will never, ever send their children there. They would dare not. This cluster of school and that cluster of school, no minister would dare send the awards there. They would go to the Martin de Porres and the Bishop Bowers and the Morning Stars, and then they are left with us to take our children to these schools. So clearly, they are producing schools that they know is not quite fit enough. However, they say, look, let's develop infrastructure, this, that, let's go. Hopefully one day education will catch up. I mean, what should we do and what's happening?
Nana, I think if we probably establish a vision and we have an idea of where we are going, we will break them into various segments. For example, into education segments. And then under education, we will raise the needed standards. At least if you go to Europe, there are the public schools. The majority of the people go to public schools. And there are standards. Okay, and in the public schools, it must be owned by the community. It shouldn't be controlled from Accra or should be controlled from the district. Let the community take ownership. Put a board together to run our private schools. Let the community determine who would be the teacher. And then the district or the mayor should have power with the community to either hire or fire the teachers if they are not performing. So we should decentralize the authority so that to make sure the community owns the school. And when that is done, I believe that with enforcement of the rules, we will be able to raise the standard of our schools. Okay, and now, if the vision can be broken into both education, health, agriculture, industrialization, what I'll call socio-cultural transformation, infrastructural development, security, enforcement of law and order. If you are able to break this vision down, then every department is literally going to run with it. I believe, can you imagine that? Imagine a president takes over the country. We all agree that we are not well disciplined enough. We all desire to become like the developed nations. But we must change our work ethics. So can you imagine having a team, probably from the organized labor, trade union, and then asking them to go to a particular country in Europe and understudy their work ethics, their work culture. And then they will come back to Ghana and develop a 4-year development plan to ensure that people will develop a better work ethics towards the job they do. You do the same to health. You put a team together, they go to another country and develop and look at the health issues and study them, come up with a plan that in the same 4-year development plan, people in the health sector are now going to develop better attitude. You do the same with the security. The police needs to be retrained and retooling. Then they go to the United States, for example, or any developed country, they understand the new modern way of policing and equipment. They come back. And in the next 5-7 years, every sector you have put together a national team of socio-cultural transformation, whereby we want to transition from the attitude we have to the better attitude. So everybody now is looking at the things they have studied, how do they implement it? So it will not only be the president trying to reinforce it, but that the people who have gone to borrow the concept will now monitor the transformation. And then the leader will ensure, the president will ensure that we are driving this socio-cultural transformation. It would be painful, but in a matter of 7 years, we can turn our country around and then become proud with other nations that we see.
I remember the days of Salifu Amankwa. There was for the young ones who are watching, there was a guy who used to manage or police Circle, and he was called Salifu Amankwa. Now, today, maybe I would say, look, his idea was too brutish and not acceptable, but Circle was in order.
Exactly.
Circle was clean, no jaywalking, no dropping of litter. I mean, he owned the Circle. Now, realistically, if we are to tell the truth, in every department, in every sector, we need a Salifu Amankwa type. Maybe not abusing human rights, but very firm and very straight. But I mean, realistically, can that happen in this day and age? I don't think so.
Everything rises and falls on leadership. The buck stops with the leader. To measure a country, or probably the quality of a country, or the quality of an organization, to know the temperature of any organization or to know the temperature of any individual, put the thermometer under the armpits of the leader. The readings will tell you, you know, the temperature of the nature of the nation. And so everything rises and falls on leadership. We need bold and courageous leadership that would literally ensure that everybody is living up to his responsibility. For example, imagine you have a president who demands that, look, I want to reduce crime. And so, Mr. IGP, I am giving you a timeline to ensure that perhaps your standard of operations activities, your response to any crisis should be within 10 minutes of radius when you are called. And if these things would not go on, your head, you know, would roll. He would then call all the regional police commanders, would give them some timelines. The regional commanders will call the district commanders, will give them timelines. Believe you me, it will trickle down because everybody is going to be held responsible. We need leaders that will not think about themselves, but leaders that will think about the benefits of the nation and drive the nation forward. So for me, we can transform our country, but it will come through bold, courageous, and determined leaders who will enforce laws. It will be painful from beginning, but believe you me, we will all cooperate. If we all cooperate, we will be able to be proud at the end of the day.
Let me catch up with some of your messages as they are coming in. Good evening, Anna. I always become disturbed when people virtually condemn everything Ghanaian and everybody except themselves, and more so when such condemnation is from Christians who are to give hope. After all, we Christians are more about 70% of the population. How many of us participate in the National Sanitation Program? Let's set up and act, bro, from Kofi Ofori Pobi in Aguna Swedru. Is it Aguna Swedru? Aguna? I think it's Aguna. Aguna Swedru. Let me get one more message here. I wish if Nkrumah should have made the whites to colonize Ghana. For 59 years now, Ghana will be in a better position now. I don't see the benefit of education in Ghana now. Non-practical lecturing, corruption, unemployed graduates. Now we are losing our skills derived from tertiary education. And this is Asamu J. Let me get another one here. Greetings. There are a couple of issues which speak to our disorderliness. One, our institutions, systems are not working and are poorly resourced. Two, poor planning, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of projects. Typical example is the Ho Road completion. Three, corruption and misappropriation of funds. The perpetrators freely roam the streets of Ghana even after judgment has been passed in favor of the state, all in the name of Enyehe, Jaimanenka, Mfamanyami. The list is endless. This is for real in Kokomlimle. Let me take a quick break here and come back and continue your messages. It's 0560 800 000. And so many messages are coming about the book. The book is in Silverbird at the mall. So you can get a copy of the book in the Silverbird at the mall. Going for a break and coming straight back. Thank you very much for staying. And on page 234, It says honest and effective government, public order and personal security, economic and social progress did not come about as a natural cause of event, but by deliberate creative vision. And this is Lee Kuan Yew.
Exactly. And you know what? We know their story and how they were just at the same level with Ghana during our time of independence.
On the base of that,
yes,
since we are not planning, deliberating everything, so I want to find out, are we doomed? But
are we doomed?
Are we doomed?
No, we are not. As long as we have people who we are talking about these issues, we have so many leaders who are also calling for a vision that will literally drive us. We have a lot of leaders who are calling for courageous leaders to ensure that people must do the right things. I think we are sending the right signal to the society. And that will probably help in the decision, the kind of people we elect into public office, so that they now know that they need to drive our people. They need to have a deliberate vision that will spell out the direction we are going and how to get there. You know, because when you have the vision, you will have the forces that will fight you. But as long as you know where you are going, we have the pull effect and the push effect. But whatever vision you have, you would have to work towards that. So we are not doomed. We have a brighter future, but it will call for deliberate leaders. And I believe that these discussions definitely is sending the right signal to society.
On the 6th of March, it was my Paramount Chief's 5-year anniversary. So he held a symposium at the Century Royal. I want to say thank you to all those who came to the symposium. But somebody said something to me, and it struck me. He says, Nana, we are the generation that has to cause the turnaround. I said, really? He says, yes. He says, all my indication tells me that we are the generation that have to turn things around for posterity. And my heart jumped. It's never struck me. I just thought we're not going to realize our dreams in our lifetime. We just complain and go. There's somebody who's saying, Nana, this is the generation that has to do the turnaround.
I will agree with him, because I just returned, like I told you, from Rwanda, and one of the conferences we held was, you know, what has transformed Rwanda. And the president said he really wants to lead a nation on purpose. He would drive the nation on vision and drive it. And most often it has been said that most nations are built on three-legged stool: the public sector, the private sector, and the fifth sector. Now, most often if we drive it only on two-legged stool, naturally the stool wouldn't be very strong. So you need the third sector. And unfortunately, most governments forget the fifth sector. Go to any remotest part of the village. There are two things you would find there. You may not find perhaps electricity post office or school, what have you. But there are two principal things you'll find. You'll find a drinking bar and a church or a mosque. So these are people that can help with the social transformation of a community. And it is about time government will understand to partner the faith branch of the sector to really drive the nation. And so I believe that this generation should see leaders that will turn this nation around. If we begin to send this right signal to our people and demand, and they begin to demand that leaders perform. You see, unfortunately, we worship our leaders, but they are there to serve us. So once we begin to, trumpet this clarion call, we can move our nation to be able to be transformed. And we need those leaders who are not thinking about themselves, but thinking about Ghana. Can you imagine having a president coming on board and saying that, look, in the next 2 years or 3 years, or for example, I wouldn't take any salary. And then I would demand that all my ministers will take 50%. If you are ready, you will sign and you come on board. If you're not ready, I'll find someone who will agree. But I want to set an example because the nation is cash-strapped. The nation is having financial challenges. So I want to set an example. 3 years, I'm not taking any salary. Now, I don't think any sector, medical association, or the teachers will rise up and demand that they want more. When they've realized that the president himself is setting their example, all his ministers are on half salary, he challenges parliament and said that, look, why wouldn't you also cut off? And then, the V8s and the vehicles, why wouldn't you cut them? When they begin to say this, people wouldn't cry foul.
The sacrifice should come from the top.
Exactly. Leadership must start with the example. When we begin to see our leaders setting that example, people from the various sectors wouldn't cry and be on the street and demand their pound of flesh. But as long as they see you having yours, and then you ask them to wait, and then perhaps you ask them to tighten their belt, I'm afraid they wouldn't do that. The example must be set. People must set the example right from the top.
Let me go back to the Lin Kuei Yew statement, because I thought it was quite very, very profound.
Yeah.
That these things don't just happen by chance, but it's deliberate. Honest and effective government, public order, personal security, economic and social progress did not come about as a natural cause of event, but by deliberate, creative vision.
Deliberate, creative vision. That is the core function of a leader. Whether at corporate level, educational level, traditional level, national level, or departmental level, that is the core function of a leader. So the leader must cast the vision, should be able to tell us in the next 15 years, this is where we are going. Well, if in 4 years it's out of office, whoever comes is also plugging into the same vision, because that vision has been crafted by the entire representatives of the various political parties. So it is something that we will all own the vision.
Because of time, can you explain to me the special vision model?
Well, the special vision model, any man, any woman who crafts a vision must have this special vision. The S means specific. Vision must be very specific and very clear to the people. The P must be people-oriented. Vision is about people. It's about moving people from where they are to where they want to be. It's about improving the lives of people. And the E is about empowerment. Is this vision going to enrich and improve the lives of people? Is this vision going to make these people better off? All right? The C is to challenge the status quo. Any vision that will maintain the same system is no vision. Every vision calls for a change. Every vision calls for a new attitude. Every vision begins to break from the old to the new. So the C is to challenge the status quo and change the status quo. And the I must be inspiring. The vision must birth hope. People must see themselves in it. People must say, yeah, I can see myself. Like Martin Luther King said, it is, for in that national dream, he said, I have my dream. It is rooted in the dream of American dream. And then the A must be audacious. It's not a vision for 1 day, nor 1 year, but it's a vision beyond 10 years. Because any vision that will outlive, remember, vision outlives a leader. So for a vision to be to move from where it is to the next 15 years must be audacious. L, it must be long term. Must give us that long term. So a real vision that stands the test of time is what we call the vision model, which I came with, which is the special model. Because it is very important, it must be audacious. A vision must be bold and daring. Sometimes, you know what, it should even scare you, the leader, sometimes. You would want a can I? But yes, you can, because the vision must be, every vision is bigger than the visioneer. And every vision outlives the visioneer too.
Well, thank you so much. So now you see why I sort of coerced Bishop to come and join us today. But grab yourself a copy of the book. Is there any number they can call if?
Yes, they can call 0303 20 2260.
Again?
0303 202260.
Call and grab yourself one of the books. Thank you very much for staying in today. This is the generation that has to turn things around. And so the honors is on you and I. And on that note, let me say thank you very much on the behalf of Odenho Kwafakutu III for gracing his the event yesterday. But 26th of March, all roads lead to Odumasa. I'm going to invite Pastor. It's my 5 years on the throne.
Wow.
So
wow.
I would be very glad to have you as a guest.
Sure.
And you watching, I know you're fed up with hearing Odumasa. You need to come and celebrate with us. Tomorrow we'll be back to do this all over again. And thank you very much for watching. Pastor, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a delight to be here.
Yes, it was a delight having you too.